to SJ1. My name is Matt Kaminsky. I'm a field engineer for Bryan Builders. Luca Lynn is a field engineer in training. Carter Dillon is our superintendent. He'll be flying in a little later today. And then we also have Chris Loveday as the superintendent. I think you guys have met him for the most part this morning. He's the older gentleman with a bald head driving around. We're all incredibly helpful people. All of our phone numbers are right on the outside of the trailer right here. If you guys need to get in touch with us, please don't hesitate to call. Just don't call at 4 a.m. or 11 p.m. You know, like, be respectful of our time off of work too. Site address is 1700 Imison Road, Jacksonville, Florida 32220. It's really hard to say that zip code. I don't know why. It's the 3 2s got me. Any deliveries or anything need to come here. There is a little bit of confusion with the addresses going next door and here. We're getting a lot of their people here and a lot of our people there. So if your delivery driver gets lost, chances are they're in the parking lot next door when they call you. Site hours are 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. We are available to work on Sundays. Or Saturdays, not on Sundays. If you need to work on Saturday, please let us know no later than like Wednesday morning so that we can make arrangements to have somebody on site with you guys. Every day when you get here, I need you to check in with Kayla. She's out sick today, but she's usually up at the gate up there. She's gonna ask for your first and last name, what company you work for. She's gonna ask if you got your PPE on you. And she's going to remind you of the site speed limit. Site speed limit is 10 miles per hour anywhere on property. I don't have a radar gun on site, but I can tell the difference between 30 miles per hour and 10 miles per hour with my naked eye. And I'm paid to say something, so I'm going to say something if I see you guys hauling ass through the parking lot. All right, legal stuff. Bryan Builders safety policy and goals. Bryan Builders is committed to protecting human health, the environment, and utilizing resources in a responsible and sustainable manner. This commitment applies to each employee or subcontractors, visitors, and the communities in which we operate. In order to accomplish this, our daily activities are guided by a set of core values and beliefs. We believe that we are responsible for our own safety, the safety of our coworkers, visitors, and subcontractors. We believe that all accidents are preventable. We believe that putting ourselves or others at risk is a violation of trust. And we believe that everybody should be able to return home at the end of the day without injury. In order to accomplish this, we commit to comply with all safety, health, and environmental regulations and policies, going beyond the letter of the law when necessary to protect human health and the environment. We commit to create a workplace free of occupational injuries and illness by addressing unsafe behaviors and conditions. We commit to communicate openly, honestly, and with integrity with all stakeholders on all safety, health, and environmental issues or concerns. Our goal is to create the conditions to ensure the safety of our employees, visitors, subcontractors, and anybody that comes to the site. All of that to say that safety is a really big deal to everybody at Bryan Builders. If you guys have been on a Bryan Builders site before, you know that I'm not just saying this, like, we're all very committed to this cause. So we want to perform all work in the least risky way possible. The question is not, is it safe enough? The question is, can it be safer? And if the answer to that question is yes, we'll probably need to reevaluate how we're about to do what we're about to do. Everybody new to the job site has to go through orientation. Everybody out there's already been through it. Thanks for coming to today's. If you guys bring more people later on in the week, we do this every morning around 9 a.m. So make sure they come and check in with us and go through orientation. This is our site plan. Highlight a couple of things. We're right here in this Bryan Builders office trailer. The check-in trailer's right up front. You guys saw it when you came through the gate this morning. Dubach and Comnet have a couple of trailers on the other side of the building. There are porta potties located all around the building. There's some right up front here. There's 2 sets going down the side here, 2 sets on the other side, the long sides of the building. There are wash stations at every place. There are smokers areas at several of those places. In all reality, I don't really care where you guys smoke outside. I care where your cigarette butts end up at. So if you are a smoker, please make sure that your cigarette butts are not ending up on the ground for somebody else to pick up. It will become a problem if it becomes a problem, just so you guys know. Aside from that, I got 2 muster areas. They're kind of just out into the side of both of the roll-up ramps on both sides of the building. Those are the places we need to go if we need to evacuate the building in case of a chemical spill or a fire or something like that. Just please proceed to one of those 2 areas so that we can do a head count and make sure everybody got out okay. This is the nearest hospital and the 3 nearest urgent care clinics. There is a copy of this on that wall. There's a copy of this right next to the door right there. There's a copy of the check-in trailer. There's a copy of both of my all 3 of my safety cards inside. I highly recommend at some point this morning that you snap a picture of this and send it to your mom, your dad, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever. Whoever's gonna come looking for you if you get hurt. We're very nice people at Bryan Builders, but we do have to maintain order. That's part of why we're here. So there are some things that you can do that will get you kicked off of this job site. This is not a challenge, it is just a warning. So, failure to follow policies and procedures. We have these policies and procedures in place for everybody's safety. We're very committed to that. If you're not committed to helping us protect everybody else, we don't want you on the job site. Failure to wear your PPE. PPE is required at all times while you're inside the building. That means when you're coming back from lunch. That means when you get here in the morning. So when you leave at the end of the day or you're headed out to lunch, bring your PPE with you to your car so that you can be wearing it when you go back into the building. Fighting, we do not tolerate this in any way, shape, or form. If you or any other subcontractors are beefing, please get us involved so that we can de-escalate the situation, because if it gets physical, we're just gonna act like it's kindergarten and we're gonna send everybody. I don't care what you guys do during your off time, but please don't come back from lunch and let me smell ethanol coming off of your sweat glands from 10 feet away. Please don't let me walk through the parking lot and catch you smoking a blunt in the parking lot during lunchtime. I am paid to say something, I'm going to say something. And then no guns, no knives, no Chinese stars, flamethrowers, bazookas, hand grenades, or anything like that are allowed on the job site. If you brought anything like that, please leave it in your car. The sole exception to this is a knife that you use for work. We want the blade under 3 inches in length and preferably foldable. You do not need a Bowie knife to strip wire, just so you know. I've actually seen that, just so you know. Bryan Builders safety regulations, you'll see these posters all over the job site, kind of like the nearest hospital or the 3 nearest urgent care clinics. They're on all of the gates, they're on the safety carts that's on the side of my building right here. This is just kind of a bullet point of all of this stuff that we talk about during orientation. Some highlights, it says no smoking inside the building. What it really means is no tobacco, no vape, no chew, no dip, no cigarettes, no cigars. All of that stuff needs to stay outside. Housekeeping is mandatory. This is the first time I've said it during the orientation now, but it will not be the last. And then PPE must be worn at all times. That's the second time I've said that. It will also not be the last. You'll find safety carts inside. There's 3 of them. They're located about equidistant through the building. One's right outside of the office block, one's about midway through the building, and one's in the back left corner. This has all kinds of stuff on it. It's got all of the signage that we've talked about so far. It's got a first aid kit, it's got earplugs, it's got a copy of the current plans. They're pink, just so you know, the pages are pink. Please make sure that you know where this cart is before you start working. We also have a number of CPR, first aid, and AED certified people on site. I'm one of them. Dubox foreman, Carter, Chris, there's a bunch of us on site. So if you guys end up in trouble and you're hurt and you need help, please have somebody come find one of us or call 911 immediately, but get us involved. PPE is mandatory at all times on the job site. That includes a hard hat, high-vis shirt or vest, long pants, steel or composite toed shoes, and safety glasses. Amazon's cracking the whip on the safety glasses right now. We do have Amazon people coming on site later in the week. So I wanna make sure that everybody's got a set of glasses. If you need a set of safety glasses, I've got them at the check-in trailer up front. Just get with Luca, he'll take you up there and get you a pair. High-vis shirt or vest, make sure your shirt's got sleeves. It can't be sleeveless. Other than that, it can be short sleeve. It just can't be no sleeve. This is the most important slide of the entire orientation. If you guys take nothing else away from orientation, I want you to remember this. Every single person on this job site has stop work authority. If you see somebody doing something dumb that is going to hurt them or somebody else in the very near future, it is your responsibility to stop them. Yell, scream, make a lot of noise until they stop what they're doing. You do not need to get their foreman's permission. You do not need to come find me or Luca first. If it is an imminent situation and they are going to hurt themselves or somebody else, put a stop to it. I will defend you, back you up 100% of the time. Cell phone policy. I'm well aware in the year 2025, we are married to our cell phones. They control most of our lives. So I'm not going to tell you not to use your cell phone because I know I'm going to lose that battle, but I am going to ask you to use your cell phone responsibly. If you need to take a phone call or you need to get on your phone and look something up, find a column to stand next to, find a man door to step outside of, find somewhere where nobody's working that you can do your cell phone business without being in the way or getting hurt. No operating your cell phone while you're operating a vehicle. This is even if you're moving a scissor lift 3 feet. Put your phone down. If I see you operating a piece of equipment while you're on your phone, we're gonna have a problem, just so you know. We have porta potties on site. I've mentioned their locations. We have people come and clean them 2 times a week currently. They're doing a pretty good job of keeping up. If that changes, let me know. They're just a phone call away. So we have people that keep them clean, but at the same time, please don't trash them like the picture on the right up there, or pull your Sharpie out and color all over the inside of them with a political or something message. We do have to pay for damages for these at the end of the job. While we're on the subject, I didn't think I had to say this, but don't throw your trash in the porta potty. Last week I had somebody show me a picture of some Coke cans and some like Wendy's bags thrown in a porta potty. Don't be that guy. I don't want to have to yell at all of y'all again. Housekeeping, we've talked about the cigarette thing. Like I said, I don't really care where you smoke outside. I care where your cigarette butts end up at. So make sure that they don't end up on the ground. Housekeeping is mandatory. This is not just at the end of the day or tomorrow morning. This is throughout the day and at all times. So if you're leaving for lunch or you're going to take a break or something, take a few minutes to clean up your work area, stack your materials out of drive lanes and walk lanes. Just make sure that you're keeping it clean inside. We do have trash cans all over the building. They're located about every other column line on both sides of the building. They're big, they're blue, they have wheels, and if you need to move them to where you're working, I'm totally fine with that as long as you put them back when you're done. Any hoses, power cords, or welding leads need to stay out of heavily trafficked areas. I understand sometimes we just got to put a cord there because it's where we need to be. If you're going to do that, put a line of cones or something next to that cord so that we can see that there's something there when we're driving over it with a forklift or scissor. I have a designated break area set up inside. It's pretty easily recognizable. There's orange and white cattle guards all around it. There's tables and chairs and a microwave and TV and refrigerators. There's a big pallet of water there too. That is water for the people. If you guys need water, please feel free to grab it. If you want to take a case and bring it out to your truck outside, I'm totally fine with that. And everything. It's going to be really hot this summer until we get permanent power and our RTUs up and running. I am prepared to order as much water as I need to, so please hydrate. It's important. While I'm on the subject, the break area is the only area in the building that you can be without your PPE. So if you're in the break area eating lunch or whatever, take your hard hat off, take your vest off, that's totally fine. As long as there's no overhead work going on. If there's a scissor lift 5 feet away, keep your hard hat on, please. Just common sense, like if you're in danger, you should probably have your PPE on. If you're not, you're okay. Occupational health and bloodborne pathogens. Occasionally in construction, we're gonna cut ourselves and bleed on stuff, it happens. I have on my safety carts a bloodborne pathogen kit for cleaning up blood. Please don't clean up somebody else's or your own blood with your bare hands, because that's gross. I am going to judge you a little bit if I see that. These kits are one-time use only things, so if you pull one of these off the safety cards, just let me know. I have replacements, I can put another one back. They've got a face shield, eye mask, coagulating powder you pour on the blood that turns it into a solid so you can sweep it up. They're pretty cool. But just if you use one, let me know. Injury reporting. Bryan Builders carries a very large umbrella insurance policy to help cover any gaps in workers' comp if your company's not helping you out. That said, I need a record of it. If you cut your hand today and 3 weeks from now it gets infected and 3 weeks later you end up having to have a finger amputated, I don't have anything I can do to help you if I don't have a note of the initial incident. So even if it's seemingly minor, just let me know. I'm not gonna yell or scream or anything. I'm just gonna make a note in Procore with your name so that if something happens later on down the road, we've got a legal leg to stand on to help you guys out. While I'm on the subject, and I don't have a slide for this, I also need to know about near misses. If somebody swings a forklift blade and nearly decapitates you, if somebody nearly runs you over with a scissor lift or backs over you with a forklift, I need to know about those things. I'm not gonna go and yell and scream at anybody, but I am gonna go have a conversation about backup alarms and spotters and those kinds of things to keep you guys safe. So if somebody like nearly hurts you, just let me know. I'm gonna make a note of it. We're gonna have a conversation about it. Worksite hazards, OSHA's Fatal 4. These are the top 4 reasons that you're gonna get hurt or dead on a job site in America. Number 1 says falls, but what it really means is gravity. This is everything from slipping and tripping off of a curb to falling 40 feet off of a roof to falling out of a scissor lift or a boom lift. Gravity is going to win 100% of the time, and it is literally the bigger you are, the harder you fall. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with gravity. It's going to win. Number 2 and number 3 I like to do together because they're very closely related in what they talk about, and because they used to be number 3 and 4 on the list and they moved up. So number 2 is caught in or between. This is confined spaces. This is getting crushed up against a wall by a excavator backing up or a scissor lift. Number 3 is struck by. This is getting hit with the forklift blade like I was talking about, or getting run over by a scissor lift, or getting hit by a car in the parking lot. These used to be number 3 and 4 on the list until 2017, and then they jumped up. The culprit, the cell phone. Everybody started walking around with their noses in their phones, and now all of a sudden everybody's getting hit by things. So I'm going to ask one more time with the cell phones. If you're using your cell phone, don't be operating a piece of equipment. Be in a safe place. Don't let me catch you walking across the warehouse with your nose in your phone. I'm going to say something about it if I do. Number 4 is electrocution. We have some of the best electricians in the business on the job site. Duvac Electric is a top tier electric company. If you guys are working around any kind of exposed wire, it is safe to assume that that wire is hot, and just get with us so that we can have the foreman verify that that circuit is locked out and tagged out before you continue work near it. Do not enter restricted areas without permission. I use a lot of red tape. You'll see areas in the building that have red tape around them. That red tape is there for a reason. Yellow tape is take a minute, look around, if everything's cool, proceed. Red tape is stay out unless you got a reason to be there and permission to be there. So I've seen it a couple too many times. If you come up on some red tape, don't just throw it over your head and assume everything's okay on the other side of that tape. I had a guy 2 weeks ago walk underneath 4,500 pounds of suspended load on a crane because he just walked up to my red tape and pushed it over his head and walked underneath it and into the porta potty that it was starting. So his timing was impeccable. He was directly under the load, like directly. So thankfully nothing bad happened. Fall protection and working at heights. It is the #1 cause of injury or death, so we're going to go into a little bit of a conversation about how to mitigate fall hazards. Number 1, Eliminate the fall hazard altogether. If there's nothing to fall in or fall off of, there's not a problem. Number 2 is passive fall restraint. These are things like guardrails and tow boards that are fixed in place and prevent you from falling into the thing. Number 3 is active fall restraint. This is your harness on your scissor lift, something that's going to hold you to it if you fall. Number 4 is fall arrest. This is your yo-yo or lanyard. It's designed to stop you within a certain distance of falling. That distance is 6 feet. Per OSHA regulations, you should be stopped within 6 feet of falling. At the point that somebody falls and they're suspended in a harness, we have about 5 to 10 minutes to get them out of that harness before it kills them, just so you guys know. So if you're doing any kind of work in a scissor lift or boom lift, I need a fall rescue plan from you as soon as possible. And I need you guys to take this stuff seriously. It has happened before. And when somebody's in that situation, we have a clock ticking. We need to get them down as soon as we possibly can. Number 5 is controlled access zones. If you can't control any of the other things, you need to keep people out of the area. You'll notice that several areas in the building are barricaded off with red tape, 2 forms of protection. Those are our trenches for sanitary and our sanitary connections for the restrooms and scrubber dump. Stay out of those areas if you can. Very much appreciate it. Personal fall arrest systems. I don't have any rules about wearing a harness while you're in a scissor lift. OSHA does not require it. If your company does, follow your company's regulations. I don't get to supersede your company. If you are wearing a harness, I want you to do something before you put the harness on each morning. I want you to take a look at it. If it's got any wear or deterioration, don't put it on. Don't use a piece of equipment that you know is not working properly. Make sure that your lanyard is shock absorbing and attached to the D-ring in the center of your back. It should be centered right between your shoulder blades. And the fall distance and anchor point must be approved by a competent person and deemed adequate. I think what it's saying here is there's actual anchor points on your scissor lift for you to hook off on, so don't hook off on the rail. Hook off on the anchor point. They're welded in place. They're designed to support your weight if you fall. Mobile elevated work platforms and aerial lifts, scissor lifts and boom lifts. Scissor lifts, make sure you're following site guidelines for fall protection. You need to be trained on the specific model of the equipment that you're operating. And there needs to be some sort of overhead work warning in place or a spotter, and I'm very okay with both. You'll see inside Dubox doing a bunch of work on the trapeze where they're installing their conduit. They've got red tape in the bay that they're working in to keep everybody else out. If you guys are running scissor lifts or something like that, we're not in an active facility, but some sort of indication that you're above would be very helpful. If you're pulling cable ComNet at deck, I want a line of cones where you're rolling so that we know which way you're going.
So you want a line of cones in front of which way we're pulling the cable?
Like if you've got a scissor lift at deck and you're pulling cable and you're not coming down, just a line on the ground to indicate which direction you're going to be going in that scissor lift so that people aren't just walking underneath you while you're trying to move.
Yep.
Boom lifts. Everybody got to be tied off in a boom lift. This is non-negotiable. This is OSHA and everything. Also need to be trained on the specific model that you're operating. And with both scissor lifts and boom lifts, I need you to stay in the basket. Please don't let me catch you climbing up on the rails to get that extra 6 inches or 1 foot that you need. That's how people get hurt. So. Heavy equipment. Every piece of heavy equipment needs to have a reverse signal alarm or a spotter, and I'm very okay with both. But if we can't hear your vehicle when you put it in reverse, stop, don't drive it. We actually had a forklift decommissioned from this job site because we couldn't hear the backup alarm when they were backing up. As the operator, it is on you to be aware of any blind spots. I talk about having a spotter, like especially with a lull where you can't see out that right side very well. It's very helpful to have somebody guiding you that's outside of the vehicle and can see the whole area around you. If you're going to walk in front of or behind a piece of the heavy equipment that somebody is operating, I want you to do two things. I want you to make eye contact with the person operating that piece of equipment, and then I want you to give them a thumbs up or a wave or a head nod or something and wait for them to acknowledge you back, because the last thing I want to hear if I'm picking you up off the ground is, I thought he saw me. Make sure that that person sees you before you walk behind or in front of them. Only use equipment for its intended purpose. No loading up your guys on the blades of the forklift and using it like a golf cart to get them across the warehouse. No dragging material behind your scissor lift to take it where you need to go. These are all things I've seen on this job site, just so you know. So don't do any of that stuff. I am paid to say something, I'm gonna say something. And then maintain a minimum 10-foot safe working distance from any electrical lines. Ladders. I'm gonna start this whole section off by saying if you can use a scissor lift instead of a ladder, please use a scissor lift instead of a ladder. They're incredibly dangerous. This is number one reason why people get hurt on job sites is gravity. Ladders are a big part of that. So I understand once we get the office block framed in and stuff like that, ladders become a bit of a necessity. So if you do have to use a ladder, please make sure that you're using it correctly. You want to maintain 3 points of contact with that ladder at all times. You want to keep your load, including you, centered on the ladder, no swinging side to side. You only want to put ladders on a stable and level surface. When you get that ladder set up, shake it a couple times and make sure it's not going to walk away on you. They do that, just so you know. And then if you're using a ladder to access an upper landing, it needs to extend at least 3 feet above that landing for you to use it safely. Make sure that your step ladders are open and that the arms are locked before you go up them. You want to secure ladders against accidental displacement. This can be something as basic as somebody standing on the other side of the ladder to make sure it's not going to tip over. And then make sure you're using ladders as designed, no leaning an A-frame up against a wall and climbing up it. That way, make sure you're opening it and locking it before you climb up it. And then you want to make sure that your ladders are set at the proper angle. Material handling. We've got about 50 big, strong men on this job site, and we're big, strong men, and we do big, strong men things, which includes not thinking about things sometimes. Anything over about 50 to 75 pounds, you're gonna need somebody to help you lift it. There's a ton of other guys around. Please do not be shy to be like, hey, can you come help me move this real quick? Just like with the ladders, if you can use a forklift or something like that instead to move the material, do that. It's a lot safer that way. You wanna be aware of such factors as the material's height and weight. When you're lifting it, if you can't see over the top of it, that's a problem. If you're stacking it and it's taller than you, that's also a problem. Just be aware of like potential like falling over and crushing somebody, not being able to see where you're going and damaging yourself or something else. And then you want to avoid awkward postures. Remember, lift with the legs, not the back. Hand and power tools. Hand and power tools come equipped with safety guards and switches and all of that stuff. I need you to leave that stuff on the tool. I know sometimes they're inconvenient and I've used this circular saw 378 times this year. I can take this guard off. No, leave it in place. Exposed moving parts of tools need to be safeguarded, including but not limited to belts, gears, shafts, pulleys, sprockets, spindles, drums, flywheels, chains, or other reciprocating and or moving parts. I do occasionally spot check these things when you guys go off to lunch and leave your tools sitting on the ground. I will go and pick them up and look at them, unplug them, take a minute. I have been known to grab a tool and walk up to a foreman and be like, hey, this is unacceptable, please replace it. Protect users from shock and burns. Electric tools need to have a 3-wire cord with a ground. They must be plugged into a grounded receptacle, be double insulated, or be powered by a low voltage isolation transformer. And the third prong must never be removed from the plug. On both the piece of equipment and on the extension cord that you're using to power it, make sure that that grounding prong stays in place. When using pneumatic tools, a safety clip or retainer needs to be installed to prevent attachments such as chisels or chipping hammers from becoming projectiles. Hot work permits. If it throws orange sparks, I need a hot work permit. These are good for one day only. They need to be filled out every day. While we're on the subject, because I don't have a slide from it, hot work's not the only thing that we need to take a little deeper look at safety. If you're doing excavating, I have an excavation permit. If you're getting on the roof, I have a roof access permit. I already got one of those from you today. If you're in a confined space, I need a confined spaces permit. So just get with us if you're doing something a little above and beyond what's normal, and there's probably a permit involved. It's usually a quick 5-minute, fill it out, sign it, tape a copy where you're doing your work. Welding and cutting, I don't have a lot of this going on right now, so I'm not gonna get into too much detail with it. Just know oxygen cylinders and propane cylinders should not be stored next to each other. That's bad. That's gonna hurt people. Electrical safety. Look for overhead power lines and buried power line indicators. We are going to have a bunch of trenching and stuff going on in this front parking lot here in the near future because we've got to upgrade our primary service and install generators. We do have overhead power lines connecting this trailer to the building and this trailer to that building over there. I do have this area roped off because there's conduit running between my trailer and there. Just stay out from behind my trailer here, please. Use only factory assembled cord sets and only extension cords that are 3-wire type. Use only cords, connection devices, and fittings that are equipped with some sort of strain relief. And use ground fault circuit interrupters on all 120 volt single phase 15 and 20 amp receptacles, or have an assured equipment grounding conductor program. All of the receptacles in the building already meet these requirements. There are receptacles all along the docks. Those are all active. There are 3 charging stations in the building that Dubach has set up for us, where there's just a bunch of receptacles to charge our lifts and stuff like that, or tools and everything. Electrical safety. Extension and power cords need to be protected against sharp edges and potential pinch points. When you guys go to lay out an extension cord, don't drag it across the floor. Lay it out across the floor so that you're not getting it caught underneath something or something like that. There are some temporary lights inside. They are all caged. I did verify that. Extension cords need to have a strain relief device to prevent excessive pull from being transmitted to the terminal screws. Most of your store-bought extension cords meet this requirement already with the heads that they have on them. If there's exposed wires, electrical tape is not sufficient to fix that. You need to either replace the head or decommission that piece, that extension cord. Find a different one. And then make sure that your circuits are locked out and tagged out prior to anybody working on them. Motor vehicles and mechanized equipment. Just started cracking the whip on this today. I have pre-use equipment inspection checklists. By the end of the day, they're going to be on every piece of equipment. Before you get on a piece of equipment in the morning, take a walk around it. Make sure that there's no hydraulic leaks. Make sure that when you start it off, you don't smell something burning. And everything. Just make sure that you're taking a look at that piece of equipment. Don't just assume that it's okay, jump in and start it up and take it. Any vehicle or equipment with an obstructed view to the rear must have a backup alarm or a spotter in place. I've mentioned this a couple of times. I'm very okay with both here. Like having somebody outside the vehicle is extremely helpful, especially if you're in a tight place or you're operating something with large blind spots like a lull. And heavy machinery or equipment beds need to be blocked against falling or pinching hazards while employees are working underneath them. I would counsel you don't be underneath a piece of equipment unless you absolutely have to. Excavations and trenching, we're gonna go into this a little bit just because we're gonna start our trenching for primary power and generator power here in the not too distant future, and I do have some trenching going on inside. Employees working in an excavation greater than 5 feet in depth must be protected by a sloping or shoring system. Soil must be classified by a competent person using at least 1 manual and visual test. Excavations need to be inspected daily by a competent person, and the shoring systems must extend at least 2 feet above the surrounding surface so as to prevent material or debris from entering the excavation. I have already contacted GPRS to site all of our utilities out here for when we start digging, so you guys will see the paint on the ground, where the water and electrical come into the building. Concrete and masonry work, I'm gonna bring this up too, cause start next Monday, we're gonna start floor remediation on the AR field floor. Nobody's allowed to work under a concrete bucket. To the extent practical, elevated concrete buckets need to be routed so no employee or the fewest number of employees are exposed. Concrete troweling machines must be equipped with a dead man switch, and any protruding rebar into which employees could fall must be protected against impalement hazards. Silica awareness, this is kind of why I brought this up. As they're grinding, they have, they put water down on the floor when they're grinding. They have a vacuum to clean all of that stuff up. Occasionally they forget to hit the switch. If you see a giant cloud of white smoke billowing across the warehouse, that's silica. That's literally glass in the air. If you inhale it, it can cut up the inside of your lungs, make your lungs bleed and all of that stuff. It's not very good stuff. So if you see something like that, let us know so that we can get people out of the area and start pushing air through to get all of that out of the air. I went around the room before we started all of this. I got safety orientation forms filled out for everybody. I'm gonna go around the room again, get you guys to sign those. I'll give you guys the sticker at the end. Just remember, if you see something, please say something. We can't be everywhere at once. We're only 6 set of eyes between the supervisors we have on site. You guys have two eyes each. If you guys see something, bring it to our attention. We're very interested in your safety, but we can't be everywhere. So if you see something, bring it to us. We will happily have that conversation with you at any time. All right.